Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video, I'm bringing to you my review and discussion video of The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, which is the first book inside the Witcher series. Now technically, this is the third published book inside the series, but in terms of chronology, many people suggest to read this book first. There are various different ways in which we can read the Witcher series, and I'm following one of the methods that is suggested by Elliot Brooks in one of her videos from years back. I'll try to link that video in the description so that you can go forward and check it out if you want more info on it. So in this video, for the first few minutes, I'll be giving you a spoiler-free review of this book, after which I'll be jumping into the spoilers. Since there are quite a few short stories inside this one, I want to discuss each and every one of them in detail with you guys. So without any further ado, let's get into the video right away. So The Last Wish is technically just a collection of short stories. There are totally 7 short stories in this collection, and the special thing about this collection is that all of the 7 short stories don't happen chronologically in the exact order that they are written in. Now we have 6 short stories as past things that are reminisced and thought about by the main character Geralt here, and the one other short story, which is the 7th one, is broken up into chunks and it occurs in between the other short stories. For example, you'll be getting the first chunk of that 7th short story in between the first and second short stories, and the second chunk of the 7th short story in between the second and third short stories, and so on. So you'll be reading one whole short story, then a chunk of the 7th short story until you reach the end of the book. Now this is a grim dark fantasy series, but trust me, while you're reading this short story collection, even though it's a grim dark world and it's a grim dark series and there are so many dark things happening here, it will be so much fun to read. The author has such a type of writing style that each and everything that he writes about has a good banter between the characters whom the story is happening for. Hence it becomes so much fun to read, and the happenings that he shows here, even though might not be very clear in the first book itself, makes us feel like there are so many undertones to this one which will be excavated in the further books inside the series. Now by the point I'm filming this video, I have not read any of the other books inside the series, and that's the kind of thought that I have. Let's wait and see how it is going to go henceforward. I personally have not played the Witcher video game, but I watched the first season of the show alone when it got released for the first time in 2019. But after watching that first season, I decided to not continue on with the series because I just loved that first season so much. So I wanted to go back and read the entire series as a whole and then watch the rest of the show. I think by now there are like 3 more seasons which have been published after the first season, and I've not even watched a small chunk or even the trailer of any of those seasons. My plan is to binge through the series by the end of this year and then go forward and watch the show so that I have a much more concrete understanding of the world, characters, as well as this plot as a whole. And if I'm not wrong, the first season of the Netflix show is also mostly based on this first set of short stories. There are like 1 or 2 short stories I think which did not make it to that first season. I don't know if they are there in the other seasons or not, but to my knowledge, that first season of the show also has some other short stories and backstories of other characters from the future books inside the series that are included inside the show. For example, the only main character whom we focus on through this short story collection is Geralt of Rivia, that is the main Witcher of the series alone. Apart from him, we have 2 female characters who are also main leads for the story, namely Yennefer and Ciri. Yennefer also makes an appearance only in the last short story of this collection, and we just get to see how Geralt as well as her form a connection between each other and what is the relationship between them. Apart from that, nothing else is revealed to us in this book. At the same time, we also don't get any of the backstory of Ciri, her powers, and whom she is actually. We just get a chunk of backstory of her parents and her grandmother in this first short story collection. If I'm not wrong, the law of surprise which is shown in the first season occurs twice, and once it is shown as a short story here, and the second time when it is to happen also happens in the first season itself of the show, but it has not happened in this first book. So I think they are including different stories in the chronology that they happen, not to make the show even more coherent. One thing which I had to keep in mind continuously while reading this book is that even though it was very fun and super adventurous for me to read, I had to slow down at instances because the story was not happening in a continuous timeline. There were things that were jumbled up here and there, and our main character himself is just thinking about these stories, so he is not going to think about everything in the order that it happened exactly. So I had to slow down and take in the characters and the places and the happenings that are going to be connected later on in the series slowly, so that end up confusing something with something else while I'm reading the further books. It is an adult grimdark fantasy series, but I can also suggest that it is not so adult or explicit that at least this first book, it can be read by anyone who's 15 and above in age, because it does not have anything sexual or grotesque in its depiction as such for me personally. So basically, I enjoyed this first collection of short stories so much, and I'm so much pumped to read the further books inside the series. I rated this short story collection 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think I might even bump it to a 5-star level once I get to the other books inside the series, because some things still don't make concrete sense to me because of the soft magic system and stuff. So let's just wait and see how it is going to be for the rest of the series. That's it for my spoiler-free review of this book. Now I'm going to jump into the spoilers and give my thoughts on each and every one of the short stories individually. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the book, I'd suggest you to step out of this video right now. And if you're interested in getting into the spoilers and discussing with me, please do stay on, because I have a ton of things to discuss. Now I'm going to discuss all the short stories in detail, but I'm not going to discuss the one that is fractured alone, which is basically the voice of reason, until the end, because if I discuss it in the same way that is written in the book, I will get confused. So the first short story is The Witcher, which just introduces Geralt to us and shows us his character as such. To start with, I just enjoyed and loved how his intro was given inside the series, okay? He just felt like such a fierce warrior that he is. At the same time, he is so much fun to be around. He likes to wield his power here and there, and he likes to show people that he knows his profession well and he is well known due to certain reasons and not just like that. So in this first short story, which is The Witcher, he goes to this place called Temeria and he's going to try and save the daughter of the king, Foltest, who was born to him and his sister because of incest 14 years back. But right now what has happened is that child has been transformed into a striga, and while she was born itself, her mother died. At the same time, one of the wet nurses who was birthing the baby also jumped out of the tower and killed herself. After the death of the mother, both the mother as well as the dead baby were kept together in a coffin, but after 7 years, the baby transformed into a striga and she started killing people on the full moon day of each and every month. So 14 years after the death of the child and the mother, the problems caused by the striga have become manifold. So Geralt is finally here to help them get rid of the striga as well as make some money out of it. The best thing that I liked about Geralt in this book is, while he goes to Foltest, he does not give him any kind of false promises at all. He clearly explains him that his daughter might be saved, but she might not be that much mentally developed for her age of 14 years at all. She might be challenged in so many ways and she will need a lot of taking care of. At the same time, there are some rituals that he tells to Foltest and also his trusted members which need to be done for at least a few years until she can be gotten back to normal. I also like the usage of the soft magic system really clearly in the first story itself. While Geralt explains it to Foltest, he himself is not sure what made the child into the striga. He is sure that it is not just the incestuous relationship between Foltest and his sister Ada which made the child that was born into a striga, but he also says that incest might be the reason why a spell might be cast, and that spell might be the reason why the baby was born as a striga. So he does have a good knowledge on what he's working on. At the same time, he's also open to accept that he might not have all the answers for all the doubts that people might be having while working with him. I also liked how he used Ostrich as bait in order to capture the striga, and after capturing her also, he used his wit to put himself inside the sarcophagus or that coffin and wait until the entire night was over in order to save the girl. Eventually he ends up saving the girl, but he also gets his throat slashed. So that shows us how dangerous his profession is and how much proficient he is in order to deal with such kind of dangerous monsters, at the same time save the people who are suffering because of it, at the same time himself while doing it. So I can say that the first short story, The Witcher, was a great point to start the collection with, and it also gave us a great idea of who Geralt is and what we can expect from him. The next short story is A Grain of Truth, and for me, of all the 7 short stories in this one, A Grain of Truth is the one which is the most cozy, okay? This is a grimdark fantasy story. It is a grimdark short story collection. Yet, despite all those things, this story just felt so cozy to me, just because of the fact that we had Nivellen as the main character here, and he's basically this bear kind of beast who's half beast and half human. He has all the human tendencies but has the appearance of a beast, and basically while he had these conversations and interactions with Geralt, he just felt like a huge cuddly bear to me. And every time I was visualizing Nivellen in my head, the only thing which kept on popping in my head was the Cookie Monster. So that tells you how I felt about this short story in specific. I just liked how the author has written Nivellen and the sentient house that he is inside. All those elements just made that short story super cozy to me. At the same time, while keeping and making it cozy for me, the short story collection as a whole did not lose its tone. Okay, there's this darkness to the backstory that Nivellen has, where he goes as the head for the group of bandits that his father had, and as a result of this, he ended up raping and killing a priestess who ended up cursing him to become this monster thing. And only after he's loved in that form by a woman, he'll be able to get back to his human form. I don't know why even there is this way out for Nivellen after doing such a hard crime for a woman. still it is there. And we get to see that Verena, who's this vampire kind of person, comes on killing all the other girls who seem to be falling in love with Nivellen. And Geralt and Nivellen also end up killing her. Just before she dies, she confesses her love towards Nivellen, and that breaks his curse and makes him human again. Again, it shows us how clear Geralt is when it comes to getting his work done, okay? It's not even his job to go forward and save Nivellen, but he ends up doing it just because he can right there. So I think it tells us more about him rather than any of the other characters inside the story. So just that sentient house as well as Nivellen as the main character itself, as I said before, made the story the most cozy for me in this collection. Moving on to the next short story, which is The Lesser Evil. For me, of all the 7 short stories in this one, this was the most emotional, okay? I remember exactly how I felt while I watched this particular episode in the first season of the show. Back then, I did not have any knowledge about the series. So my thought was that Renfri as well as Geralt have a really good understanding of each other, and they have also slept together just the night before. So I thought that the next morning, despite him being betrayed by Renfri, Geralt would somehow help Renfri at the same time save her from all the other people. But he ends up killing her. He also feels so bad and is going to haunt him for the rest of the series. I can see that clearly here itself, because it's not like Geralt wants to kill anyone in the series at all. He only kills people because it's his profession, and he also kills people only when there is something genuinely wrong about them. They have done something really unforgivable and stuff like that, and also monsters in general. But this short story for me was like very emotional, because the amount of pain that Renfri had as a character in her backstory from her stepmother as well as this other guy, I don't remember his name properly, that was very heartbreaking, okay? And after all that, she had to die towards the end without even getting any kind of confession for what she has gone through from the people who put her through it. Was very horrible. She has done a lot of stuff. She has raided villages, she has formed her own gang of bandits and all such stuff. But despite that, I think she deserves like a good ending towards the end of the short story, but she does not get it and gets killed by the main character here. It's just as I said before, not like Geralt wants to kill her, but he ends up killing her just in order to save the rest of the people inside that place. He also ends up killing the gang of bandits that Renfri had, but despite that, he is branded to be the traitor and butcherer of Blaviken. I think Blaviken is the name of that place. I'm sorry if I'm saying anything wrong. And it just felt so sad to me, okay, for Renfri as well as for Geralt, because he wanted to help her, he liked her, he understood her. But despite all that thing, he had to kill her towards the end just because he had to save the rest of the people. And despite having killed some people in order to save a huge other number of people, he was not treated in the way that is right. I think his guilt is the thing which drove the other people to act the way they acted towards him and finally branded him as a butcher. So yeah, with all these pain and traumatic stuff going on, it's easily the most emotionally damaging as well as scarring story inside this collection. Next we have The Question of Price, which is the most epic. Okay, it's the most epic of all the short stories inside this collection. Remember, I've also watched the first season, so I know the parallel story for this one, which happens later on inside the series, where the kingdom of Sintra, or that place of Sintra, is being taken over by enemies, and Ciri is escaping from that place. Ciri is not there in this collection at all, but I was able to make all those connections from here itself, and that specific short story and that specific episode as a whole were just epic. And the thing which makes the short story as well as that episode epic is the ability or power that Pavetta has. Okay, no one knows that Pavetta has the ability or has that magic within her, but because of certain intense emotions that are felt by her, she just taps into the force, and because of that, she starts screaming, and she literally nearly screams the castle to rubbles, okay? But just because of Geralt and Mousesack, that place is saved, and we also get to know the thing that has happened between Pavetta as well as Urchin, and the fact that she's pregnant right then. And Geralt also demands the price as the law of surprise, which Urchin used on Queen Calanthe in order to get married to her daughter. So probably what I think here is Ciri is the daughter that is born to Pavetta as well as Urchin. I don't remember the exact things from the TV show, so I'm just making some theories here. If it is true or if it is not true, don't tell me down in the comments, because I want to see how it goes in the rest of the books inside the series. But anything else, just for this short story collection, don't feel very free to comment it down in the description and discuss it with me, because I'm always open for discussions. So after that, I think Geralt is going to use the law of surprise in order to claim Ciri, and I think Ciri is going to become a witcher just like Geralt is. Again, just pure guessing here, I don't know how it is going to go. So if it goes in this direction, I'll be totally happy for it. And especially the music for this particular episode in the series is just epic, okay? I think the music of the series is one thing which just elevated the visuals as well as the emotions that are felt by the characters for that show as a whole. at least in that first season. So yeah, I'm so pumped to read the rest of the books and just get to the show too, because the more and more I think about this book, as well as the more and more I think about the world, I'm just so much attracted to the story. Let's just wait and see how it goes. Next, we have The Edge of the World, which is kind of the short story which I did not care much for inside this collection, because I think it did not add anything that much to the series, or at least this short story collection in specific for me. I don't know how it is going to add on for the rest of the series. Let's wait and see. But here, what I feel like is the goat-like monster, it helping the elves, all those things just felt like, things that were crammed together just in order to make the story nice. And that goat, even the talk, it was shown to be something which is very powerful, very, very evil in its tone. But by the end of the story, we see Geralt, Dandelion, as well as Doc, sitting together around this campfire and just chatting with each other what they are going to do the rest of the days. And if you just give them each a mug of hot chocolate, I think this is going to become a camp, okay, rather than just a final conversation between three, kind of special people inside this world. And I also think Dandelion occurs for the first time only in this short story inside the collection. I'm not sure whether he came in the previous backstory, which is the question of price or not, but inside this one he was quite fun. Okay, I can understand why he's one of the favorite characters for many people who have played the game as well as read the books. Again, I did like his character in the show. I think I'll be liking him more the later books inside the series too. Let's wait and see. But as of now, I can say that this is the short story which I cared about the least inside this collection. And now we have the next short story, which is The Last Wish, which is probably one of my most favorite short stories inside this collection. I'm kind of torn between The Last Wish as well as The Question of Price, because I like both of them very much. But my most favorite character so far, Yennefer, makes an appearance only in The Last Wish, and we also get to see the amount of power she wields in the world. I don't think we get the backstory of Yennefer in this book. I think it'll be there in the future books inside the series. But I see in the first season that her backstory is shown to us in the first couple of episodes itself, and how she transforms herself into how she looks and how she is as powerful as she is, and what all she's trying to do in the first few episodes itself. There were hints of it shown to us in this short story itself, of how sorceresses don't have such a good appearance and how they try to change it for themselves after they master their art. And there is also some kind of price they have to pay physically in order to get all that power that they can wield. It's also shown to us here that Yennefer is one of the most powerful sorceresses out there, and she also ends up saving Dandelion's life from the curse that was put on him by the genie very easily. And also when Geralt says to Yennefer that he performed this exorcism and tells that entire spell to her that he used to get rid of the genie, she tells him that it's not a spell or an exorcism, it just means F off. So that was quite fun for me to read, and how that also played a major role inside, using the 3 wishes of the genie, because Dandelion did not have any power to use the wishes. It was Geralt the whole time, and that first thing that he said to the genie was considered as the first wish, and the second wish was used when Yennefer ended up trapping him inside the prison along with that other guy, and because of that wish only, one of the soldiers or guards inside the prison got killed, and Geralt escaped from the prison. And finally, when Yennefer has summoned the genie inside the small town, which it is rampaging right now, and she's not able to control it, Geralt goes forward and offers to help her, even though she denies herself in the beginning itself. I like the dynamic that they had between each other, because both of them are not totally honest with each other. At the same time, they are not totally hidden away also, but they understand each other really, really well. And finally, Geralt uses his third wish in order to save Yennefer as well as form some kind of a bond between them. So that was quite confusing for me, yet I like the way in which the last story ended up. And finally, we have The Voice of Reason, which is the only short story that is shambled across all the short stories to us. It happens only after The Witcher, which is the first short story, and when Geralt is injured with his throat slashed, he's in this temple being helped by Ninek, who's kind of a mother figure for him. And Ninek is actually trying to persuade Geralt in order to get into this trance that can be put on him using the power of Iola, who's one of the people that is working in the temple along with Ninek. Geralt does not agree to it because he does not want to know about his future, because he knows that it will be bloody. At the same time, he's also challenged to duels by these people, because this temple is placed inside this place where he butchered all those people. So he's tried to be driven away from that, but accidentally he ends up getting into the trance because of Iola's power, and they get to see this very violent future that Geralt is to be a part of. And I think this is going to lead into the other short stories as well as the other main novels inside the series. So let's just wait and see how it is going to go. But as such, I can say that this was such a solid collection of short stories, even though I was not able to 100% understand some of the things here and there. I still enjoyed it reading so much, and that's it for my discussion. So yes guys, that's it for my review and discussion of The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, which is the first book inside the Witcher series. I'll be doing similar videos for all the other books inside the series too. So if you're a fan of the series and want to know more about it, please do consider subscribing if you haven't yet. And if you did enjoy watching today's video and found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.